Welcome into this week's edition of Tribe Talk. Joining us, the head football coach of the Clarke Indians, Duane Matthess. Coach, thank you for taking some time here and joining us this morning. And tough night last night, obviously. It was not the outcome you guys would like to have, as the game was moved to Osceola between Clarke and Red Oak. And just an all-around tough night to get things started here today, though. A 17-3 loss, and you look at 17-3 and it says 14 points, but really it was a one-possession game for most of the ball game throughout the night.
Yeah, they were able to punch one in at the end of the game to go up by 2 touchdowns, but at one point, I think we were knocking on the door the end zone, and it was a 7-3 ball game, or it might have been a 10-3 ball game, and so we could either taken the lead or tied it up, and we had some momentum, but we just weren't able to finish out drives, and I think that was kind of the story of the night for us.
Offensively for you guys, it seemed like there was a lot of sputtering down late in drives. You guys would get a nice play early in the drive, and then it would have been a penalty that might have brought back, or a loss of yards on a play, or a mishandle of the snap, or something just seems to come up and stop the drive. And then every drive all night long, it felt like you guys were 1 or 2 big plays away from, like you said, tying the ball game or taking a lead throughout the night.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of the stuff was self-inflicted for us. I mean, we look at that first series offensively. We get a nice few-yard gain, and then on second down, then we end up fumbling it or bobbling the snap, and then we're in a third and long situation, and we were I think 1 for 7 in third down conversion. I mean, it was god awful, but that's with our offense. We have to put ourselves in manageable third down situations, and when we're third and long and third and a mile because either a penalty or a bad snap or fumble or anything like that, that's tough, not just for our offense but for any offense.
You take this game last night and you talk about all the different things that can come out of this game. You can look at all the positives of the game throughout the night. You were able to play pretty strong defense for most of the first half. Granted, that very first drive right out of the gate. You look at the special teams play. You guys had, once again, a fantastic night special teams wise. Had a field goal in there as well. Punting was there. Kickoffs again were there. And then Peyton had that big kickoff return late in the game that kind of set you guys up for another good opportunity. So you can look at all those things. You can look at all the opposites of it, where we had talked last night in the post-game show where it was just kind of a slow start for you guys right out of the gate moving forward. So I guess the question to ask here is, overall from that game last night, what is your biggest takeaways?
Well, I think our biggest thing is, we were last year at this point when we were playing teams that were better than us, and Red Oak definitely was better than us last night. That scoreboard would have been 40 or 30 to nothing kind of deal, and while offensively we didn't put up the numbers that we wanted to last night, it was still for a majority of the game, like we talked about, a one-score game. And we're still playing with teams. Mm-hmm. We're not getting blown out by teams. And I think that is a big difference. We're still competitive with them. And, it was it was really anybody's game until, I'd say with about 6 or 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And they were able to really they were really able to do what we wanted to do offensively and sustain drives and milk clock and be able to keep the ball out of their hands offensively. and we just weren't able to put anything together offensively. And but I'm pretty sure, even though that it hasn't happened in a while, the sun's going to rise today, and the world's still turning, and we'll go back to the drawing board. We're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater or anything like that, and we'll just keep plugging away, and we got a weight room full of boys in here lifting already, and we're on to Mount Air.
And there's no reason to throw anything out now. It's a 2-1 start, your best start you've had since 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of things going in the right direction. And you mentioned it at the very beginning there, talking about how, last year you guys were playing teams at this point and it would have been 30-0 or something like that. Do you think those 2 wins at the beginning of the season helped with that confidence going in, so you could continue playing, that you could finally prove to the guys that you could play with teams that you're competing against?
Yeah, I think definitely that has kind of propelled us to this. I think more than anything, it's really helped just with the kids being positive and wanting to be out for football, and just love coming to practice when you're 2-0. We'll really see this week how, after your first loss, who really wants to be here and who really wants to be on the football team. It doesn't get any easier for us this week, with Mount Air. I mean, they got some really, really solid football players, and without a doubt, Coach Showalter is going to have them ready to play. And it's going to be our real first road game, in the sense, it's going to be a little bit of a trip for us. I mean, over to Mount Air, and we'll just see how we respond.
Let's talk offensively from last night's game, and obviously it was not the offensive output you'd like to see on that side of the football, but nonetheless you were able to move the ball at times. It kind of took a couple of drives to figure out what to do, and then really late in that ball game you were able to sustain a few drives. They just didn't go for points per se towards your guys' way down inside the red zone and down in plus territory.
Yeah, they didn't. We actually thought that they were going to play what they played defensively. We just couldn't get up to the second level, and their linebackers did a really good job of reading their keys and playing their assignments and getting in, filling and getting up through the hole. So that's just something offensively we need to be ready for, and we need to be able to get up to that second level and get to those backers and get in their way, so we're able to sustain some drives.
Absolutely. You look at offensively, a bunch of different guys touched the ball last night. You look at Riley Domino, obviously, the quarterback. He got quite a few of those touches and really just had a few nice holes that he ran through up the middle, just couldn't get through a couple of other times. It was a nice push to the defensive front that Red Oak had, and they were getting a nice push. And then, like you said, the linebackers for Red Oak took care of business. Bentley is the biggest one that comes to mind there. Just a big athlete that's right there at the second level. Then you look at other guys like Chris Carson and Fonnie Fry and Peyton Winship, who really were key portions of the offense last night, and then were able to have huge plays with those guys moving forward. I know, like, Peyton would come in, and we talk about it almost every week. He's your guys' spark, and he came in and really kind of lit a fire there late in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Peyton's just, we talk about it. It seems like, I could just play the record here. I mean, and he's a shifty running back. He is explosive. Sometimes he can get wanting to kind of do his own thing a little bit. So if he can, understand where the holes are going to be and hit those holes, and then he can do his thing. But let's get to the hole first. But I mean, sometimes he's one of those players that sometimes you start out and you're like, oh no, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh yes, because he's running down the sideline for a touchdown. But he's still a dynamic athlete. I mean, obviously a 2-time state qualifier in track, and a great baseball player as well. So I think he's just one of those players that we got to find ways to get him the ball. And that's what we're trying to do. We'll continue to do that. And then we still have other great athletes that can touch the ball with Chris, Riley, Fawny, Garrett, when he is back as well. So we're all right. We're going to be fine. We're obviously excited to move on from Red Oak and be ready for Mount Air.
We'll take a break here on Tribe Talk. We'll talk special teams, defense, and Mount Air next. Welcome back into Tribe Talk here today, talking with the head football coach of the Clarke Indians, Duane Matthess, coming off of their 17-3 loss to Red Oak. First loss of the season for the Indians, who now sit at 2-1 and get ready to take on the 2-1 Mount Air Raiders after their victory on Friday evening over Central Decatur 20-12. And we'll talk more about that game coming up here in just a little bit. Talking defensively now, Coach, it was a slow start defensively for your defense coming out, and it was a short field first of all in the very first drive for Red Oak nonetheless, and they go the 46 yards that they need to, and really ate up quite a few minutes of that clock in that first quarter, but drive right on down the field, score that touchdown to go up 7-0, and it really stayed that way for most of the first half, as both teams kind of traded punts back and forth. But nonetheless, the defense looked strong in that first half and really held them to that lone score early.
Yeah, I thought, our defense, when they force teams to, drive a little bit longer than, 40 yards or so, we can have some success. We, had a bad, normally our special teams are pretty good. That first punt, the high snap, I think Brian felt like he had to rush it a little bit, and got a little high and didn't get the distance we wanted out of it. But so it ended up giving them a short field. But even before special teams, we could have helped them a little bit by getting at least a first down and getting moving the chains a little bit for us. But I think looking back and looking at the few plays I've had a chance to look at, at the game, is we just need to be able to match the physicality of other teams. And I know that we're not the biggest and we're not the strongest teams out there, but with our offense, we're not asking people to be the biggest or most physical, but they just have to know who they're blocking and know where to get to. And I'm sure we'll build off of this and learn from it.
When Red Oak took the ball and drove, when they had a drive that was 6 or more plays, is when they scored every time. And that was only 3 times throughout the night. It was a 7-play touchdown drive, an 11-play field goal drive, and a 15-play touchdown drive as well. And that was it as far as scoring for them. Your defense, you look at 17 points and think, that's not terrible defensively in its own right, but then when you have the opposite side of this fact where you've got to be able to force more turnovers, force big stops, and your defense really did just that in the first half and much of the third quarter as well.
Yeah, and I say this, I better knock on wood or something here. We haven't turned the ball over too much this season, which has been nice. I mean, I think even I think they had 1 fumble or 2 fumbles last night too, and so we were +2 in the turnover ratio. Again, every game we've been plus, And normally when you're plus in the turnover ratio, you usually come out on the winning side of things. So that, and they gave the ball, or the ball was on the ground for them quite a bit. I think there was a couple times that I thought they were fumbles, but they were deemed not. I mean, so they could have even been more than 2 fumbles, and so that's frustrating when you get turnovers and you don't capitalize on those. Now, some of those turnovers were in our side of the field, so it wasn't like we were flipping field position or anything like that. But you still have to be able to capitalize on those turnovers, and so defensively, I think that we had our chances there. Like you said, there are 3 drives where they had more than 5 consecutive plays, or were the ones that they scored on. But we kind of set them up on that first one with a short field. I mean, the most impressive one I thought, was obviously the last one where it was 15 plays. And I think they ate up a big portion of the clock on that point. And I mean, their other drive too was a decent amount of time as well. But that, you just don't see 15 play drives too much in high school football. I mean, if you asked any defensive coordinator if what their odds are that they'll face that many drives, I mean, it's pretty slim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was like you said, it was just kudos to Red Oak for being able to put a drive like that together in their game. Now, when you have the opportunity to go back and look at game film from the ball game and have that chance to go back and look at it, do you feel that you'll be able to learn a little bit more about your team from the Red Oak game than you did the first 2 weeks of the season?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I think, we told our team, from the get-go, this is the best team that you're going to face. And by far they were. And so, I think due to the fact how physical they were and, how good assignment football they played, we got to really, really get into the weeds on this film and see, where we lacked execution, where we could do better. So this next week, practice, we can really coach these guys up and break it down for them so they understand. So then, hopefully, my big thing is, let's make new mistakes, so let's not keep making these same mistakes over and over again.
Let's talk special teams here real quick, Coach. And obviously, like you said, the first couple of receiving opportunities didn't necessarily go in the way you'd like them to, but your punting game was pretty strong. You got a couple of nice bounces. Brian got a couple of nice bounces. He hit that field goal to make it 7-3 at the time. Had another 2 touchbacks, I do believe, or 1 for sure of that I know of. But special teams play once again outstanding for you guys for the most part.
I don't, just have to put in some film from last year to see what kind of special teams we had. I don't know if they were very special, but we had some block punts and stuff like that. And this year, I mean, our special teams has really been a strong point for us, and that's put the emphasis that we've had in practice in the off season, the way we approached them. And I basically said, every one of our coaches has a special team that it's their baby, that they coach up during the week and are in charge of. During camp, they're the ones that put everything in, and I think that's kind of made a difference for us. I mean, just everyone to get more involved in ownership of it. So I'm just real pleased with them. Obviously it's really nice to have a weapon like Brian Avalos, and hopefully he continues to be a weapon for us. And I think that but even if Brian has dinged up his wrist a little bit, we still have other guys behind him that Dalton Stubbe still has from last season the longest punt in school history, so 69-yard punt. So we feel pretty confident, whether it be Brian or Dalton back there punting for us, that we'll be fine.
Moving forward now, you get ready to take on a talented team in Mount Air. The Raiders coming off of a 2012 victory over Central Decatur. Coach Showalter and Coach Lambert have another strong team down in Mount Air. Talk to us a little bit about the Raiders. I know it's the first time we've had the opportunity of playing them for a long time. I believe the last time we played them was my freshman season.
Yeah, I just have a lot of respect from afar for Coach Showalter and Coach Lambert. I think that their kids, from what I've seen on film, really compete hard. They fly around. You can tell they're well coached, and they just got some real hard-nosed kids over there that like to compete. And my hope is that it's going to bring the best out of our kids when we play on Friday night. And so I think if we come out and try to not wait for a quarter to get rolling here, I think we'll be all right. But that's on us as coaches. We got to make sure that our guys are ready to play and they're fired up and they're not flat. And I think that it's going to be exciting. Over there they have a great facility, and what better thing to do than to play football on a Friday night.
Absolutely. You go down to Mount Air, and like you said earlier, one of your first true road tests of the season. Mount Air's got a special situation going on right now with a sophomore quarterback in Peyton Wheeler, and then they also have a senior quarterback in Miles Green. Two very different styles of quarterback. One's a predominant thrower, and the other one is a little bit of both. And how do you go around and game plan defensively for two different guys who will be taking snaps?
Well, I think you look at their offense. I mean, yeah, I understand that they have two guys that they can kind of rotate in and out of there, but their offense is who they are. And we're not going to really game plan for this person's in or this person's in. We're going to just respect them as a team and know who or try to understand what they do offensively and coach our kids up that way.
Mount Air's been known to run the football in years of past. This year they've kind of gone away a little bit and started getting the ball through the air, and why not when you've got a 6'3" receiver in Dawson Frost on the outside to throw to in that sense. As far as the pass defense goes, you didn't really see many passes last night. I think there was a total in the entire game for both teams, 5 passes the entire game, so could be a complete opposite side when you guys get ready to take Mount Air on Friday.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, possibly. I mean, I think that it could be. I know that they can still run the ball as well, so they may try to spread us out and open up the middle of things and get some long runs there. We'll just obviously haven't spent a whole bunch of time looking at Mount Air's film. We saw a little bit of them just because they played Nottoway Valley, and when we were watching Nottoway Valley's film, we saw them there. But I think this weekend we'll really kind of dive into the film and see where we kind of feel that they'll probably come at us a little bit, and hopefully come up with a great game plan to slow them down and be fortunate enough to come out on top.
Finally, Coach, before we head on into week number 4, final thoughts, I guess, before we head on into week number 4 going forward.
Well, I think obviously the sky's not falling for us. There's a lot of teams that would love to be 2-1 at this point in the season, and we knew that we had some solid non-district opponents on our schedule, and we knew that this game would be kind of the first true test for us, in the sense of physicality. And, they were a very senior-led team. I think they had 12 seniors on their team for Red Oak. We have 9. But I think they had all seniors across the offensive line. We know that what we have to do to fix our things. And I think that our kids are, they were just in here lifting and getting after it, and so I'm confident that they'll be ready, for this Friday. It's pretty easy to get ready to go when you have a quality opponent like Mount Air, and they are. And I think our guys will be ready to play.
That's Tribe Talk for this week with the head football coach of the Clarke Indians, Duane Matthess. We'll be back next week talking Mount Ayr and looking forward.